very hoarse, I feel.
Please rise for silent invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Here.
Councilman Tremont.
Here.
Councilman Bastian.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. Consent agenda. Public comments on consent agenda items only. There being none, agenda approval.
Move to approve the agenda?
Items 6 through 9.
Yes, sir.
May I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There being a resolution, let's call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Citizen participation, non-agenda. Robert, come on up.
Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive North, Port Orange. Mayor, council members, I wanted to talk about rules of procedure. Last time I was here, there was a volunteer committee member that came in and asked that a consent agenda item be pulled so that he had time to get guidance and more information. How his request was handled, I considered to be at best chaotic and very disheartening. So I asked the city clerk if there was a council person who actually had was identified as the parliamentarian, and they said no one actually had that appointment. Then I went and spoke to the city attorney, who very graciously called me at home, and we had a real nice conversation. And ultimately, I actually went online and read the procedure. In reading it, I noticed that the first paragraph 2D, the presiding officer shall determine all points of order. And then in local rules, paragraph 3A9B, where it lists the consent in the agenda items, it says in parentheses, items pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion will be heard during the regular agenda. But nowhere was I able to find where it said who could pull the items and how they would be pulled. Later in the paragraph, it just says that citizen comments are included on the agenda item. In section 4A3C, entitled Public Hearings, Regular Agenda and Consent Agenda, nowhere in those two subparagraphs does it actually use the word consent agenda. And although in paragraph II it provides that members of the public who wish to be heard on a particular item may choose to complete a public participation form and turn in the completed form to the city clerk. And I assume when they say that it includes, when they say item, they include consent items. So I believe that you really need to clarify who can pull consent items and how it's done. Whether you do it with a vote or you can individually do it, it just isn't clear. But I also believe that you need to clearly identify that the individual council members are to be given the opportunity to question or comment after any member of the public has completed their presentation.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Susan Maynor.
Hello.
Hello.
I My name is Susan Maynor, and I live at 5403 Cordgrass Bend Lane in Port Orange, resident of Port Orange, love Port Orange. Just some concerns as a citizen of Port Orange. And one is with Waste Pro, who does a great job. I was looking online, I didn't see that it stated on there how long, if their contract is now an indefinite thing, or how long their contract was. I thought it was originally till 2019. And the reason I bring it up, many neighbors I've talked to and so forth, concerns with the cost, expense, etc. It just seems more and more that it would make sense to have the trash pickup once a week instead of twice a week, with all the recycling that should be taking place and for the environment and so forth. It just seems financially it would make sense with Waste Pro. So I was wondering what was going on there. And then the other thing was, of course, growth, which we all know about. I was looking, it looks like the growth has been at least 23% or so, that it's been going up, and on the amount planned, and it just seems to be coming more to be more of a, let me get myself straight here, sorry, and is going on the amount planned and coming will strain and exceed services available. The concern of the quality of life, you know, with everything, you know, pollution, you know, just everything with the quality of life. If there's going to be any cap on it or what. And then with the traffic, which everyone knows apart, Dunlawton and so forth, it's just flat out awful, and it's getting worse. The proposed possible fix with the traffic signals that I was reading, they were saying like 2020 before there'd be any kind of fix there. And with all the approved building of apartments, single-family homes, condos for the area that's going on, there really needs, something needs to be handled before 2020. There has to be, you know, taken care of. After all, Dunlawton is like a main artery through there, and then you can see what's happening at Tomoka Farms. I'm not sure what all is going in there, but they're really tearing, you know, that's really getting down there and everywhere. And I just believe the responsible action for a lot of these issues is another, maybe another look at the budget, not just jumping to add fees like the fire assessment fee that's being talked about and all. So, you know, and just like to bring it up. I know everybody's aware of it, but I just, with everything, seem to think trash once a week should be something maybe looked into. You know, if you have a large family or something, you can put out a second can, or, I mean, when you think about all the building and everything that's going to be going on, it's going to be so much on those trucks, everything else, getting into all these neighborhoods. I mean, do you know approximately how many homes they're talking about putting in Port Orange with all that? That would be, you know, it's probably on the internet or somehow. I'd be concerned on what that is. And then, of course, that's, you know, we, of course, don't have an ambulance service, and that's another concern with the traffic signals. You sit there at traffic light the other day. I was looking, I saw 4 cars go right through the traffic light. It's going to cause more and more accidents and everything. It's just concerns. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to share some information just based on, I think we all share a lot of the concerns that were mentioned. The trash contract, what do we got, about 4 years before we are up again? I think it's quite a while, but when we signed the original deal with Waste Pro, we got a very, very good recession era pricing. So the next time it does come up, we can consider what kind of components we want to put in it. But we're going to have that for a little while. But I appreciate some of the concerns that you're talking about. Some of the information about the traffic plan that goes beyond just the adaptive signaling that we're talking about. There are a number of components to that. I think we've got that information on the website still if you want to take a look at that also. But and if you want to talk to any of us individually, we'd be more than happy to. Appreciate you sharing. Comments, concerns from council. Why don't we start on this end with you, Drew?
I don't really have anything tonight. So we are aware of, I mean, Dunlawton traffic and things, and you know, you look at those things, and Port Orange is popular for multiple reasons, and you just can't stop people from coming. So you know, we got to have a place to put them, and you know, builders are buying up land and building houses. So we kind of are, you know, sometimes you respond to after the fact because you don't know how many people are coming, but there are multiple homes and everything being built, and you know, until we're at build out, I just don't see it stopping, because this area is very popular and people are moving into Volusia County, Port Orange, you know, South Daytona, every day.
The old victims of
I
our own
don't see an
success.
end to
People
it.
want to be
Yeah.
there. I know.
Yeah, I just
know.
don't see an end to it coming anytime soon.
So we got to manage it.
Yep.
Scott?
Susan, she brings up some great things that we talk about very, very frequently, and I too would like to extend the opportunity to give me a call. All those things, there is a lot of information that goes with the idea, the concept, and the problems, and I'd love to have that conversation with you if you'd like, so feel free to give me a call. My number there is on the website. But you mentioned something that I want to applaud you for recognizing, is that Dunlawton is an artery. It doesn't belong to the city of Port Orange. While it runs through the heart of our city, it's an artery for East Volusia County. And you know, I was having a conversation the other day with someone there, and we were talking about that very thing. When you think of the distance from an east-west artery in East Volusia County, from New Smyrna's North Causeway to run, we're talking about arteries that run from 95 all the way to the beach side, from New Smyrna's North Causeway to Daytona at Orange Avenue, which is under construction now, but basically it's ISB. That is a huge distance rather, to have that artery that serves Ponce Inlet, Wilbur by the Sea, Daytona Beach Shores, obviously unincorporated Volusia County areas, Port Orange, parts of New Smyrna, South Daytona.
Parts of Daytona.
Yeah, and so it's not just the residents and the businesses in Port Orange that create that impact along that roadway, but it's all those communities in southeast Volusia County. And so I think we need to be looking, and I know in speaking with some of our elected officials at the county level, that's on their minds as well, to look at, you know, how do we move traffic better east and west and east in all of East Volusia County. By the way, it's not unique to Port Orange. Same concerns on Granada Avenue and Ormond Beach, ISB, Daytona, all the east, west. It's interesting that we seem to move traffic fairly well north and south through East Volusia County. You know, US 1, Nova, Clyde Morris, Williamson. Yeah, they're busy roads, but the traffic moves pretty darn well through those areas. It's where the east-west arteries are that typically yield our issues. But great point, and feel free to give me a call. I'd love to talk about them. Other than that, Mayor, I don't have anything else.
Anything else? That's it? Bob?
Very good points. We had talked at length a couple of years ago about Waste Pro, single-day pickup, because there's environmental reasons for it. There's also clearly cost reasons. However, the public was really opposed to it at the time. They wanted to have their 2-day pickup because some of them may be like, I sometimes am distracted. You forget to put out your garbage and you got 2 weeks.
2 weeks is a long way.
So, but it's clearly something we should look into. We may have to financially, but the price goes up. But right now we do have a decent deal. Dunlawton is something we've looked into at length, and I think we dropped the ball a couple of years ago. I at a council meeting several years ago, it was well predicted by part of the council that if they put in the continued development along Dunlawton, particularly in the area where the congestion is the worst, we're going to have problems. But the gleam of development was in their eye, and there was no stopping it. What we need to do now, and if you ever want to sit down, I'll sit down and talk to you about the various plans. It is really a complex series of algorithms that are going to have to be done along the road to get traffic moving. And I think we can increase, without increasing delays, we can probably increase traffic there by another 25% if we build in all the different type of technical and actual physical improvements we're talking about now. But you're right, the answer is we do need an old idea that we've forgotten, is the Madeline bypass. Having Madeline extend all the way to over to US 1 and then out to Tomoka Farms Road over 95. And that is going to be a necessity if we're not going to end up in a total gridlock. So it's something we should start looking at now. We have an opportunity now with some of the plans that are coming up on roads and road expansion, and that clearly is something that this city should get behind. Because if we can extend Madeline over to Tomoka Farms Road, and maybe if it's doubtful because of the distance, I would love to see exit and entrances onto I-95 there. But the state says it's too close. But then there are a lot of too closes if you travel I-95 around, so hopefully someday we'll be able to work that out. But good points, and they're clearly things we need to get on. Thank you.
Anything else? Chase?
Also, thank you. Excellent comments, and I agree with everything that was said here tonight. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse. I'll be talking a little quieter.
Thank you, Chase. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.
I do disagree with the trash only because I have 2 babies, and I want those diapers off my yard as quickly as possible. But I certainly I'm fiscally mindful of that option in the future, though. They'll be older, so it won't bother me by then. I think the greatest alleviation of Dunlawton traffic is going to be the Pioneer Trail exit. If that comes to fruition, I think that is the biggest thing that would cause, or that would give some relief to Dunlawton. Aside from that, there's not a lot that can be done, just realistically speaking, because we're 60,000 now. We're going to be in the neighborhood of 10 to 12,000 in the next 10 years, so, or 10 to 12,000 more. So there are some things that are coming up on the pike. I know we've got some left-hand turns that are being, right-hand turns that are being included to alleviate some of the turning traffic. So there are things that can be done to mitigate as best as possible, but I think the Pioneer Trail is the biggest thing Port Orange ought to be pushing to have happen. Aside from that, just wanted to give one update, Council, to our very first, or my first step board meeting just last week. We discussed an option, a possibility of starting a temporary shelter with tents and things of that nature, and providing the everyday services that are going to be provided when First Step does open up, to the tune of about $600,000 over the next 9 months or so. A lot of great ideas and good thought behind it, giving a good practice run, if you will, and provide immediate assistance to those that need it. It was decided in the end, number one, it's just not financially feasible for that. It's hard enough to raise that kind of money as it is. You don't want to spend it on a temporary solution. And second thing, you know, a dry run, a practice run is good in theory, but this is Catholic Charities. They do this for a living. They don't need a dry run. They're going to bring a proven model to it already. So that idea was voted down. So we are still on task.
I just want to say that considering the cost for a temporary solution, I thought, and I read about in the paper, that you guys made a great decision. A tough one, but a good one. Yeah,
it was tough. You know, you get an opportunity. There's no right or wrong. There's no right answer in that place.
Yep. You want to help, you know.
So, and I would like a question for legal to look at. There was one discussion, portion of the discussion that we had that, you know, there was a mention that all cities need to have a safe zone. To my knowledge, that was one of the reasons that we jumped on board with this. Not the only reason, but one of the perks of it was we are Pottinger compliant by participating in this program. It does not require us to have a safe zone. So I'm just curious as to the legalities and what our responsibility is as a city.
Margaret, can you look at that and report back to us? Thank you.
And one final thing, as it pertains to Dunlawton, I brought this up last time, and I know we have the lights. You know, they would report going westbound on Dunlawton. Again, just, you know, the county operates these lights, correct? I would like a question asked, and I'll call our councilwoman about that. You know, again, it turned red when I was right around there, and I understand it's for pedestrian crossing, but there, again, second time, not a one pedestrian in sight, and that there's just, I don't see a reason for it to be red.
It's the little kid in the bushes that saw you coming that ran out and pressed the button.
I request, Mayor and Councilman Tremont, that you allow staff to handle that, staff to staff, since that's an operational issue, not a policy issue.
Very good.
I think we'd be more than happy to let you know.
Yeah, thanks. I'm good, Mayor. That's good.
Okay, save your voice. Just a couple of things I had. First of all, I had the opportunity today to record the state of the city. First of all, I'd like to thank staff. We had a terrific year last year as a council, as a city, as a staff, and it starts at the top with us and with the city manager all the way down to the last person on the ground. That's what it takes to serve our citizens. The State of the City will play on POG TV after this, and will also be available on the website for playback at your convenience. Just
Already is, Mayor. Already.
Bring
but you're not going to turn this off to turn that on. So,
Oh, you can.
well, yeah, okay, Jake. Move to remove city manager comments from the agenda tonight. Okay. There were a couple things that I mentioned in there, and Jake and I talked about it, and they're already in the works. A number of tools that we have available. We now have, after years of begging, IT did a terrific job of upgrading the city website, but now we have a mobile app. Allow you to do all sorts of things. You know, the easiest thing is to report a problem and take a picture of it with your phone, and you can do that. And with that, you have the ability to get email updates, or if you want to remain anonymous, get a tracking number and check back in. But it's a terrific tool. It was used roughly 600 some odd times last year, and that was without anybody knowing about it. Now we have a mobile app, but you can use it to do the same thing, along with paying your water bill and tons of other stuff. So check out the mobile app. Check out what I just described, Citizen Request Tracker, so that you can report items. There are a couple of other things on there as well, but the one I'm going to talk about a lot is Aquahawk, because you have the ability to set up alerts that can go to your phone and get text messages. And I know it, because when my son takes a very long shower, I get a text message from for excessive water usage on my phone. It hasn't happened often lately. I think we've got him back under control, but if you have the neighborhood kid that turns your water spigot on in your backyard and it's dripping water, or you have a leak that you don't know about, any number of things, Aquahawk is a terrific tool, and I think we've got, what, roughly 830 people signed up right now. It will soon be also available to businesses. We're working on that, but I encourage you, look at Aquahawk, sign up. It's easy, and once you've signed up and you set the alerts, you can forget about it until there's a problem, and then it'll tell you. So just some terrific tools that we've staff has done a terrific job of getting together to help make things even more user-friendly.
Mayor, the businesses already have access to Aquahawk.
Excellent.
Yes.
See how fast we developed that access? The time I mentioned it, great job, Jake. What can I say?
Just like that.
Alert Port Orange, Recycle Coach. I talked to Jake. I'm like, I think it would be great if we did some demonstration videos on how to sign up for these services online. And I was going to sit here and ask Jake, can we do that? And say, I've had this great idea. They're already working on them. So soon to come to POG TV, the quick 60-second demo on how to sign up for these. So if you have issues online, we've got more content for POG coming.
If you can't wait for the video, the directions are already on the website, sir.
Excellent. So get your mobile app right now. You all can be downloading it and have it done before the end of this meeting.
Yes, sir.
And lastly, Jake, appreciate staff's hard work. Like I said, you gave me a lot of meat on the bone to do the state of the city.
Sure.
You did a terrific job rolling that up and gave me plenty of time to mold it to my needs. And like I said, the video is available online. Will be played on POG or on demand, and there's plenty of access to it. But just absolutely a terrific job. Love it when we were able to give a lot of good news. Still not real happy with our financial position because of FEMA, but you know, we're working on that too. So we'll get our reserves back to where they need to be. And that's all I have. With that, report from Kemper Sports on Cypress Head Golf Course. Okay.
Good evening, Mr.
Thanks,
Mayor.
Bob. Great report.
Bob Duquette, General Manager, Cypress Head Golf Course. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and Mr. City Manager. This report's actually for the summary for December of 2017. Numbers are there. We'll give you some of the highlights. Our overall golf revenues for December did finish a little lower than our budgeted amount. Our range revenue was slightly higher than our budgeted amount as it goes, and our pro shop and merchandise was just slightly lower. Big news in our payroll department. For payroll for the month was lower than our budget amount for a savings $11,507, and this is pretty much for just trying to control our labor costs on days that were either slower or we had some weather issues altogether. Our operating expenses are finished at $39,057 versus a budget amount of $45,035. And again, a lot of this has to do with timing of invoices. A little bit quieter during the course of the month of December. Not as much fertilizer or other objects that we purchased, but they will probably come due as we get into January and February. We did have a couple wintry days in December, not as bad as January, but they did reduce our rounds just slightly. Month of December is our third month in the fiscal year for 2017-18, and our revenues are just slightly under the budget amounts, and the payroll and operating expenses are both lower than our projected amounts, so that's good. As far as food and beverage, there's probably been a lot of information that's been digested. There's been an RFP, and there's been some information or committee that's determined as far as for the new operator owner, which I guess will be coming in front of the council probably on the 20th, from what I have understanding. T-sheet activities, we had 3,685 total rounds for the month, broken down to 2,794 in terms of paid rounds, 635 with our annual and Cypress Pass member rounds, and 256 other rounds. So the breakdown for the month includes 2,851 18-hole rounds and 729 9-hole rounds. Regarding Golf Shop, we had $8,000 in gift card sales. December was great. We had a lot of promotions for the month, so that was a great amount of gift card sales, and we'll hope to see all those people using them up here in the next few months. And we also had over $5,000 in pro shop sales. I've got a new PGA professional that's joined our staff, Mr. Mike Dick, who's been actually doing a series of men's, ladies, and junior clinics. So we've increased that potential for all of our players and golfers out there, especially with the junior program itself, trying to get a little bit more activity with the community from that point. So one of our big helps. Definitely increasing visibility, Cypress said. You're talking about all the IT between Facebook and all the media that happens. And one of the biggest things we had in December was we were a drop-off point for the Marines Toys for Tot program. And again, the community, everybody was over. They were above and beyond overwhelming with all the gifts that they brought. To the fact that actually, that I mentioned to the golf board tonight, the organizers for the Toys for Tots, they do a golf tournament which has been held at a different golf course for all the past years, and they are going to now bring their organization to us, Cypress Head, in November of 2018 because of the fact that we've done so much in terms of donations towards their organization. So that's a big plus. We've had 400 questionnaires mailed out. We've got an 8.6 for the golf course, recommended rating of 9.3, and our service stays at 9.5. We definitely strive for customer service. Our entire team is dedicated being able to serve the needs of our community. Our driving range lights are open on Friday and Saturday night. We're looking forward, I was looking forward to January, but now I'm excited about February because January was, glad it's over with. So that's what I have for our meeting, or for our report.
The Chamber of Commerce is promising you much better weather in February.
This has actually been spectacular. The 5 days of, or 6 days of February is spectacular.
If
Beautiful
you get
sunshine.
good weather, thank council. If you get bad weather, you blame the chamber. That's the way it works.
No, they're working with us. They try hard.
What's going on Saturday?
Saturday we're having a tournament for the Horizon School. It's a fundraiser. We actually have a full field, 144 players that are signed up. the outpouring support for the community because of the damage that happened at the school itself. They've been great. We've got donations, we've got prizes that have been donated, we've got just money that's been donated from that aspect. Plus we're going to have all the food has been donated by local Don Burke's, all of his connections with the food business, so they're donating all the meals and breakfast and everything else. So it's going to be just a great day to play golf, and also great for the community itself.
Reggie's been busy.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be a busy day.
Questions? Drew? Scott?
No, I'm looking to hear about great things about Saturday's event.
Saturday will be good, yes.
I'll let you know.
There was no doubt at all that the
I
community would
don't think
rise.
he's going to win,
for that
but that's
cause.
okay.
We'll see you Saturday. I have
Thank you.
permission to play.
What? You have permission to play?
Yeah, that's right.
You needed to ask?
Yeah,
Yeah, so did I.
she's watching.
ERP project update. Jane.
Jane Davis, ERP project manager. So it's been a while, a couple of months, so a lot of things have been happening. So this is a quick update. I'm going to come in like once a quarter and give you an update, but you can reach out anytime if you have questions or you hear any rumblings and you want to address those. So what we're doing at the moment, most activities are based around preparing for the RFP to go out in the middle of March. Where did that come up there? Thank you. So this is like a high-level timeline for you. Kind of helps with other visual sometimes of these things.
That one is easier to read than the one in my agenda packet.
Yeah, I had the same problem. We got it sorted out thanks to
right.
Robin just before.
Hey, mine's-
You would never have known unless you noticed that. So yeah, that one was cut off for some reason. So we're looking around the 19th of March is the date on here. We're looking to release the RFP. So because this is such a vast and big project, it takes a longer to gather those requirements, and it just is a lot more effort. We don't want to miss anything. And we're not just gathering requirements, looking at our websites, hey, these are cool bells and whistles, let's copy and paste those and put them in the RFP. Not saying that anyone ever does that, but it's just we're working through the business processes and basing the requirements off of the business need rather than what we think might be a cool thing. So GFOA were here to help us with that. They went through 30 business process mapping sessions of how we currently do things in HR and finance mainly. We're focusing on that for now. And then out of those, they gave us some recommendations of how we could do business a little bit better in future. Lining up with like industry best practices and that kind of thing. So we have those recommendations. Those are going into the RFP as well. And you'll see that long green line, that's process improvement teams. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. After the requirements together, the RFP goes out, we will be evaluating proposals. There's going to be an ERP selection committee who they're going to receive some training and additional information to help them really know how to fulfill that role. They're going to review those. We will pick, then we'll have some demos. They'll come in and we'll have 3 vendors come in and show us some in-depth. It will be 3 weeks of demos, 1 for each vendor. The selection committee will be in there too. And then based on that, 2 of those vendors will go forward and they'll come for on-site discovery, where they will then have a deeper dive into the RFP and things that we might not be certain of. You know, they might say yes to a certain thing that they do, but we might say, well, how do you do that? Does it really fit the needs of the city? So that's the discovery. And then the yellow, the contract negotiations is, you know, where our legal team and the proposed vendor get together and we iron out all the wrinkles, hopefully. So with that being said, we would be talking about signing a contract in October, possibly. You know, things happen, so this is we don't want to, we're trying to stick to this timeline as much as possible, but you know, we don't want to be so rigid that we shoot ourselves in the foot either. So that being said, it depends on the vendor who we go with, but it will take approximately a year for each pillar. I call a pillar, like HR is a pillar, finance is a pillar, and maybe whatever else we decide to do. Some of them are quicker, depending on the delivery mechanism, which is whether you pick cloud or on premises, or all those kinds of factors weigh into how long it takes. So that timeline is uncertain at the moment. So going back to the green line, which is the process improvement teams, we have 13 process improvement teams who are focusing now on the work that GFOA did, and their role is to take the recommendations to the next level, to like really making them happen. So these teams are made out of they're regular staff who are on the front lines doing the actual jobs, subject matter experts, and they're going to be empowered to make some decisions and take these recommendations forward, which is a nice, refreshing thing for them. It's giving them leadership opportunities. There's about 8 members of each team. We're going to, provide them with all the tools they need to be successful. Hopefully, we're looking for some results and output from that. And what will happen is if there's any kind of policy changes or possible ordinance changes, you might see some of those things bubble up to you if they require a council approval. So that's kind of what I want to prep you that you might start seeing some things coming up here in relation to those topics. But it's this is one thing that places us in a better position for success, to have those teams start working now. Because if you leave it until the end, when the software people roll on site who are now charging you money for their time, and then you go, well, we got a decision to make, you've just kind of bumped your timeline out. So this is a really effective use of the time. It gets those people used to working in that dynamic together. It's rough sometimes, new groups, it's cross-departmental, so they get to work with each other and share the knowledge, and it breaks down the silos and helps with the communications, hopefully. So that's the goal. We've got a lot of meetings booked already, so that's kind of where we are. If I missed something, or is there something you'd like to ask me about any of those things?
Jake, I'm sure this has absolutely been said, and I'm going to say it anyway just in case.
Okay.
But when it comes to timelines, I like things done yesterday, but this is absolutely so important that if one person in one department does not feel comfortable about one component, about what's going into that RFP, they need to know that we feel totally comfortable with us putting on the brakes until their concerns have been addressed. We got to get this right from the get-go.
I think we're all on board with that, and Jane's got everybody moving forward at the right speed to make the right decisions.
And that's good, because I know sometimes that train gets going, and sometimes you don't want to stop it, but this one's too important.
Yeah. I guess the question I have, having been involved in a ton of these over the years, we're probably going to go with existing software, or are we thinking we're going to have the software developed for us?
The way it works now is, so what you're saying is that would we customize it to fit the needs of the city? And rather, well, mostly they come what's called vanilla. You get what comes out of the box. And that is kind of where we're heading, is the less customizations, the less money. It starts to become cumbersome to manage the more customizations you do. When they come, the software vendors need to do an upgrade to the next version or platform. You have to be very aware of all the customizations you made, because you sometimes can roll over them all, or it just becomes tricky. And then you kind of looking at the whole thing, if you're going to take everything you do now and just put it in a new container, there's almost not too much point of moving it somewhere else, because you're doing everything the same way. So this is the opportunity to change the business process and try and, I mean, these guys who do this, these software companies have looked at all of these other businesses, and so they're kind of standardized to a unified format, which it doesn't mean nothing would ever be customized. But I believe, the general theme, and from what I've known of other of these types of projects, is they lean against.
I know he wants us using the tried and true, and the bugs have been worked out elsewhere before we get it.
I see, we'd like a brand new.
So I've directed staff to lean toward. I don't, as Jane's trying to say, we don't want to do things the way we're currently doing them with a new platform.
Exactly.
We want to adapt to the platform as best as we can, change policy where we need to adapt to the new platform, and then customize where we can't get around it in any other way. But it's like I keep on telling them, like going from Lotus Mail to Outlook. When I went to Outlook, I was like, I can't do it. Now I forget what Lotus Mail was, because, you know,
Lotus Mail.
people
you
told
just
us
gave me
to
a
shut
bad
up and color.
flashback. Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing. We're gonna have to adapt a little bit or customize a little bit, but I'm hoping not much.
We're going to get rid of all of our Excel spreadsheets.
Well,
So let me
secret
talk about
empire.
that. And so, Councilman Ford, one of the other things that I've reiterated many times is we are going to get one master database. We're going to live in that database. You can't pull it offline and make it meet your needs, because now nobody has what you have, and you're operating off of something different, and that's where we are right now, to tell you the truth. Everybody's got their own little squirrel away program,
And the
and
next
everybody
guy
don't
is
know
in big
mine's
trouble.
better. So
Yep.
so the land file, the master database, the addresses, the everything has got to be, we got to be working off of one standard ground truth database, and that's what we're shooting for.
Chase?
Yeah, I'm on board, obviously, with everything that we're doing. I think it's obviously the right thing. My question, though, how do you explain to the people the enormous amount of cost to it, and software updates and modernizes every other year, it seems like. I just don't want to be in the situation 2 to 3 years to say, okay, what we have now is just out of date already. iPhone comes out with a brand new one every 6 months, it seems as though. So I just wanted, what's the how can I give the assurance to people that, hey, this is long
You
term?
can't. You can't.
well, the
one
thing
you
is,
have
hopefully
is-
we'll make a selection of
But no
something that's
question, you
built.
better
Do the
what
best
we're
you
doing.
can, but you can't make an assurance.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the platforms out there now, the whole purpose is that they are, you can develop and build on them. So you stand up finance and HR, and it's already a mammoth task as that is. But then, we will hopefully make a really good selection of a robust platform that is something, a foundation for the future to build and grow. My goal is not to just install this thing and we leave it alone, hands off, it's there, great. This thing has to grow and evolve, and that's why the process improvement teams now are important, because they're going to own this, and that's the ownership part early on. And then after the software developers roll off, there's still research, you still investigate, hey, what's the new features that are coming out, let's join the user group, so you'll have, hopefully business analysts will evolve out of those groups who will take this and keep evolving it, and you don't want it to stagnate and sit there for, that's when it becomes out of date, is when these staff don't continue the usage. So I mean, of course 20 years is a long time, it's going to start to get old then, right. But hopefully we'll buy something that's
And that's why
able
you
to
stay
take
on
us.
board after we have it.
Pardon?
That's why you stay on board right after we have it. That's why that.
I don't know.
You're the shepherd, we're the flock.
Oh,
Get us
God.
through it.
Well, I'll try it. I'm going to do my best. Any
Scott?
more?
To Chase's question, I can let you know that the city of Port Orange has not been one to run out every 3 to 4 years and buy new platforms. Because what we have now is what we had when I was a young officer working for the city on the police department.
I believe our
Yeah,
current
won't take-
platform was developed during the first Seminole War.
Maybe, might have been. Yeah.
You should know, you were there, right?
Yep, I was there.
The only thing that I'm interested in really making sure that that we do our due diligence with is making sure that what we think we're getting actually does what we're looking for it to do. We have had situations, many in past years, where vendors who were under contract and were using their programs and softwares would bring these great updates, and the city would spend a lot of money only to find out it didn't fit what we really do. For example, shift management stuff and record keeping of that and time cards and stuff like that. And the city got involved one time, I think it was back in 2000, where they purchased this great state-of-the-art software only to find out that it really didn't work for shifts that transfer from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. because it overlapped 2 different days, and they could never make it work right. And so I just really want to, encourage everybody that's involved and I agree with what Jake is saying, is that has been a huge problem in the city for probably decades, is that everybody's doing something different, and then when we need to all do things together, it just the problems compound themselves. So I very much look forward to what the city manager is talking about, as well as, you know, getting ourselves caught up. We're so far behind that I think we're so far behind that there's going to be some serious growing pains with this, actually. But however we can smooth that transition and simplify some processes and get us to where we need to be, so we can do things more efficiently, and have the ability to adapt moving forward. I think we've kind of, one of the problems was we waited so long, is that ability to keep up has kind of been lost, to be all honest with you. So, and I think maybe, Jake, that's why a lot of departments have done what they've had to do to keep the thing, keep it rolling. So,
You bet.
and that's okay.
The good news is that green screen's so bad now, everybody is very
It's kind of a
motivated.
light green.
Everybody's very motivated to go to EOP.
It's great if you still want to play, what was the
Pong.
Pong, there you go.
Oh my God.
There you go. So, anyway, thanks for the work you're doing, and look forward to moving through this thing and getting to October.
Drew?
Not much. It's a very important project, obviously, and it's going to be a very costly project, so I appreciate the attention to detail and the efforts that are going in now, so that hopefully we don't have the major surprises or headaches as we transition into that project. So,
Yeah.
Well, there'll always be some surprises,
oh,
but let's
I'm
keep
sure,
it to a minimum,
but,
right?
yeah, that's what I'm
Let's be
saying.
real.
The efforts that are going in now should minimize that, hopefully, and
Yeah.
you'll be
We hope, anyway, that's the goal, so.
good deal.
Yeah, thank you.
By
Thanks
the
so
way,
much.
we have an expert in the audience, Sheriff Ben there. He's been through the purchasing the software systems for the Sheriff's Department, and they've had as many great experiences as we've had.
That's why we invited him here tonight.
Yeah.
He didn't know. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Jane, thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Item 13, Parks and Rec Advisory Board report. Mr. Jack Wiles. It's a Jack Wiles sighting.
It's always good to see you, Chad.
Council, how are you?
Sure.
Jack Wiles, Parks and Rec. Told you last time I was here, I think in November, that we would bring forth some ideas on the community center. I wanted to kind of run a couple things by you tonight. I'm just going to kind of read my notes, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Susan Peter from the Parks and Rec Department put together a nice slideshow for us regarding different community centers. And they had some at $17 million and others at $9 million, and you know, they're not that cheap, quite frankly, the time you build these out. But the price really depends on the items you put in the, obviously what you put in the community center, and also the timing on construction. You know, construction cost is higher at certain times when demand is high. We had discussed, you know, previously, and we understand, you know, $17 million is a lot of money for particularly a community of this size right now to take on something like that. But we had discussed as a board previously that we floated the idea of replacing ECHO tax dollars with possibly Volusia Forever with a self-imposed tax for Parks and Recreation through a possible referendum to keep those dollars here in Port Orange. I'll discuss this under funding options a little bit later. But some of the items we'd like to see in a multi-purpose, multi-generational center based on the ones that we have researched, seen in person, and presented by Susan and Peter include rooms with sliding walls to open up for larger spaces to accommodate classrooms, study rooms, party rooms, Zumba, dancing, aerobics, and other classes and meeting spaces. We'd like to see a running track around a basketball court inside. So it'd have to be a pretty large center, obviously. Rock climbing wall is some things that were very interesting. A snack store for the kids, generate dollars too. That would generate some dollars. Playground inside the community center, and inside basketball court utilized for basketball, volleyball, pickleball, and indoor soccer. We think it'd be beneficial to get our seniors and our youth involved in maybe a workshop to get their input on what would be best, what they'd like to see. They may have some other ideas other than what we came up with, but we thought that might be advantageous. Okay, so now for a more realistic, immediate community center plan. The board has asked Susan to speak with the city manager and see if Mr. Johansson concurs. and then ask for council's approval to draft a conceptual plan for a fairly extensive expansion of the gym. When they move out of the gym and move to the Dorothy Huckel Center, would like to see the gym expanded to be a community center here in the city center complex. I think that'd be a great idea. You know, we do have Lakeside Community, or a Lakeside Center. Yeah. We have the Adult Activity Center, and we have a few others around. But we think that expanding this one will give us some of the features that we're looking for and not cost a fortune. Particularly given, well, I'll get into it a little bit later, but particularly given some financing opportunities. We'd like to see some estimates and place this on the 2018-2019 budget should bids be acceptable. This expansion should include the items the board discussed above and reasonable new ones by our youth and seniors in the boards in the aforementioned plan. The difference between this immediate expansion, a large number of these items such as the basketball courts and rooms for smaller events are already in place at the existing gym. We would need to go through that major expense. This obviously could not happen until the Parks and Rec moved out. But we need to start thinking about and setting the stage for the expansion and doing our due diligence now. It's going to be here before we know it. Most large cities similar to ours have community centers for rental, like the Kenneth Parker Amphitheater, the Adult Activity Center, and the Lakeside Community Center. Many other municipalities have much larger purpose centers that are truly an enhancement to the community and have over 300 and 400 guests per day come through the centers. You've probably seen in the paper recently about the little bit of a problem they're having with the director, I guess, of the community center in Deltona. Those things happen. You need to make sure all those pieces are working when you're hiring, and I guess, and how you want it to operate, and everybody knows, eyes wide open. But some funding options, we told you we'd bring you some funding options to you, not just throw this on your lap and say, hey, go build it. Some of the funding options and sources that we came up with to ease our expense load for the city residents, like ECHO, when still available in the next 2 years for these type of projects. It also seems likely that the ECHO board would like to see ECHO renewed. We don't know if that's going to happen, obviously, and we'd like to have some dialogue on that. But currently ECHO is available until 2020, I believe. And so in order to do the expansion at the gym, there would be ECHO dollars available. We certainly could utilize those.
Question real fast, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
If you use, correct me if I'm wrong on my knowledge, if you use ECHO grant money, you can't charge for any events at the facility, is that at that property?
That's correct. It has to be open to the public.
Yeah.
And can't charge.
You can't charge.
Correct.
Right. Now that's for the ECHO, for the expansion I'm referring to, not the big community center. The big community center would be different. Okay, and the way the big community center, if we decided to build that, the city of Port Orange contributed net dollars through taxes of roughly $568,000 last year through ECHO, an additional forever of $257,126 and another $311,000 respectively, for a total of $1,136,000 of what we contributed between ECHO and Volusia Forever, the taxpayers of the city of Port Orange. Okay, so that's the money that we're talking about. Port Orange has benefited by just over $2,020,000 through the 18 years of ECHO. So basically that's an 11 cent per dollar return on our money. So we obviously are a donor city to ECHO. If the City Council would like to seize the opportunity to replace ECHO with its own equivalent special tax assessment for Parks and Rec, we should get started with a grassroots program. We think ECHO is obviously going to make a push for renewing it. If we were really serious about possibly doing that, we'd have to set a special referendum, put it on the ballot, obviously, and see if the taxpayers would be willing to do that. If in fact we decided to do it. I'm not saying you guys are agreeing, I'm just saying this is an idea we're floating out there from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. So I don't want anything misinterpreted here. But at the same time, we think if we could capture those dollars, because there are a lot of
that happens.
Pardon me?
It is funny how that happens, how that gets written up sometimes.
Yes.
You're not proposing a tax increase yourself.
No.
You're just starting the conversation.
That's correct.
Just in case anybody in the media who's not here tonight writes something contrary to what we did last week.
That's right.
I'm sorry, I got to call the News Journal out.
Yes.
But, when we sat up here during a workshop and said that we are absolutely under no condition going to consider furloughing firefighters as a way of meeting a budget. So they write up that in an editorial that we're considering furloughing firefighters. So
Well,
everybody who's listening, Jack is off the hook.
Yes,
Go on.
right.
Sorry.
And I want to make it perfectly clear that we weren't endorsing that idea at this point in time. It's an idea that we're floating.
Jack,
now-
let me just come into that real
Yeah.
quick. I want you to make sure that your board 100% knows every idea should be on the table. That's what those boards are for. Think about them all. Don't let anybody have reservations
Right.
about making suggestions or ideas. And then we'll evaluate them all. But I think you've got a tremendous board. I don't mean to interrupt you. You just got a fabulous board with some great people. We're gonna get this figured out. There's no
Oh, yeah.
question. I just don't want anybody to have any reservations to say, well, we don't want to bring this idea up because that will never fly. But we're not there. Let's get them
No.
all on that table.
And that's why I'm bringing this out
That's
in public
outstanding.
tonight, because I think
Yeah.
it's the only time for us to be able to talk.
It is. You're right.
And
You're
so,
right.
and you all get to hear it at the same time, whether some of you agree or disagree with the idea, that's fine. But at least you all get to hear it at the same time, and you can judge for yourself. And if it comes to a vote, then it comes to a vote.
By the way, thank you for bringing up ECHO. Again, another example, and I think we have a more mature city now than we did in the past. And I think we're all tired of the city getting 11 cents on every dollar donated.
Right.
We didn't get well treated by ECHO. And, I think those days hopefully are over. Because going forward, I think we as a board are committed to making sure this city gets fair share of its taxpayers' money.
That's a very good point. Now, ECHO, you know how that works. I mean, you write a grant, you ask for money, and you get evaluated.
And I was sad that we didn't write anything this year, and we need to.
I think there's $2.5 million, if I added it up correctly.
Yes.
My math could be a little off, but $2.5 million that were being requested this year. ECHO is generating $6.1 million. So there's a surplus of dollars. We're not asking for grant money. There's
We
money
should
there.
be, yeah.
And they have $9 million in their leftover coffers right now. So there's an opportunity there for ECHO, particularly in this expansion I'm talking about. But at the same time, I think going forward, if you look at Volusia Forever and ECHO together, not necessarily individually, or you can look at them individually because there's some things both of them do well. And trust me, we do benefit from ECHO through outside of the city of Port Orange, through some things that they're doing, and other cities are doing. But on the other hand, Volusia County benefited 41% of the Volusia ECHO or of the ECHO dollars for Volusia County. That's a lot of money. That just means if they build something in your community, you had no control over it. They decided, hey, we'll put it there, but you didn't ask for it. Maybe you wanted to build something different. All I'm saying is you can control your own dollars if you do a grassroots program, get the city on board, we identify a project, and those dollars are dedicated to that project. That's a good way to pay for that project. Float a bond, and you pay through it with the ECHO tax dollars. It's an opportunity there. Lost my train of thought here. This would obviously include pursuing presentations to inform the residents of what our intentions are. You got to think about it. We got 2 years before this comes back up. So if we're going to do that, we need to know council's on board, who's going to be speakers in what areas, and we'll go around and try to get the support of the taxpayers. Because this is, in fact, a tax. It'll be our special referendum, a tax for Parks and Rec, but it's replacing an existing tax. You know, so not asking for more money, just asking for the taxes not to go up, but keep the money here. That's what we're asking for. We should also determine the forecast of the community center west of 95 off Airport Road, where we want to put the big one out there. That's where about 70% of our, well, not quite that much, but it's where a large portion of our kids are. If we do a center here at the gym, we have the other ones, the Adult Activity Center, we have the Lakeside Community Center and different things. Then we put one out there where there's a large majority of the kids, and there's several schools, then we can benefit those kids there too. So that's something we could actually do through this, these dollars. Just to kind of summarize, as I mentioned earlier, Volusia ECHO and Volusia Forever have a lot of similarities. In fact, you can go to the website and look up both of them. Both of them have a lot to do with outdoor space, you know. In fact, most of the money's been given to outdoor. Only 3%'s been given to environmental through ECHO. You know, so there's a small percentage of those dollars. Again, just to reiterate, currently we're a donor city, 11% of our return on our investment within the city of Port Orange. My numbers might be slightly off, but it appears to be for every dollar we get back 11 cents. Based on a News Journal article in the paper this weekend, it appears that the county will generate $6.1 million. I touched on that. There's only $2.5 million in requests. There's a lot of excess monies there. The referendum would obviously need to be specific to the city's intent for dollars such as community center, Riverwalk, that's another big one, sports complex, and this would be a win-win for our residents. But I really would, I mean, I think we've done a little bit of work on this. We could certainly do more at your direction. Be happy to. Like you said, we've got a great board, some really good input from everyone. But we would certainly like to know where you stand on these items. I would really like to know where you stand because we don't want to spin our wheels and waste any more time on this if we're not going anywhere with it. So let us know if we're if we're kind of hit the wall on this. If we have, we'll move on to something else. But we would sincerely like to know each and every one of your feelings, not necessarily tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I agree with Scott that we ought to think and look at all the options.
Sure.
On the other hand, I don't want to break anyone's heart.
Right.
I've tried to calculate after earlier discussions how much the various options that we had between Karasi, the centers and all that type of thing, the amount is just astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
So all I would ask is that as the board meets, there be at least towards the end a somber moment where they put a little black robe around them and said, we got to do it in a way that doesn't bankrupt the city because the costs are dramatic. I mean, you start talking, what, 17 million for a community center, Karasi Park, and I'm talking about the big numbers. So whatever we do has to be financially reasonable in the end.
I think to your point, Bob, and that's a very good point. I certainly, I'm not in favor of larger taxes. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to see our taxes continue to go up, and that's But on the other hand, if we were replacing one tax, we're not increasing our tax at all.
Yeah.
But we're getting a community center.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, we're getting something, and we're not taxing ourselves anymore.
We're benefiting directly instead of indirectly.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And lastly, so if I could, I don't know how you guys want to communicate this to us or through maybe the city manager or through Susan or however you want to do it, but if you could let our board know what hopefully your individual thoughts are on this, and if you're in favor of the gym expansion, and we can do that with ECHO dollars. We can do matching for matching right now as long as we can get that grant in before 2 years. That's certainly a possibility. We need to figure out, number one, how much it's going to cost, and then we can figure out how much money we can apply for grant. We have the building, so it's matching dollars. We already have our half.
We have the building, we have the land.
We have the land, we have the building, so we already have our half, and the rest of it's coming from ECHO. And then that expires, and then we try to, but in the meantime, if we're going to do the grassroots thing, we need to get busy on that.
Council, what do you guys think? Go down the line.
When are we scheduled to get back together?
I thought it was in April. I could be wrong.
So we're scheduled for a joint in April or May. I suggest we bring it up then. Last year we brought up community center and a big park, a super park, and we all agreed on some great big things. So here we are in the same place this year. I think it would benefit us from going upstairs and really thinking about it and putting some numbers to it and figure out how Jack Wiles brings up a good point. We're 11 cents on the dollar now. In 2020 we'll be $1 on the dollar. That's a big difference, and you can generate some money to make something like this work. Whether it be a community center or a big park, but I got to make sure that the city knows where the Parks and Rec Board and council as a governing body wants to go, because Councilman Ford brings up a good point too. There's a heck of a tail with a community center. There are costs. You don't just, it's kind of like Riverwalk. You can't just open the doors and walk away. You got to run the thing. You know, somebody's got to be there at the rock wall when the kids are walking up the rock wall. That costs money. So there's a tail to that, and I'd like to do a little legwork. So when we talk about it at the joint meeting, we have some rough numbers for you, and I'm sure Susan and Jack have probably worked through a little bit of that. This isn't doable, but we need to have some specific direction. Community center's been brought up now 2 or 3 times.
Just since you've been here.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Predate you.
So, do you want to do the short fix, then the big fix later? Do you want to wait for the big fix? I think in April, May, when we do the joint, would be a good time frame for that. And I think we're due. It's every 6 months, so I think we're due.
Can we look at a date maybe closer in March and get together? Is there a reason why we need to wait so far? It seems like we wait. I mean, it feels like we're 6 months apart every time we meet.
It's every 6 months. If you all want to meet every 4 months, I'm good with that.
Well, no,
just this one time, I think, to address this issue, we need to figure out where we're at.
I mean, I think there's some decisions that really need to be made.
You all need to meet whenever you want. If at a governing body you all agree to meet sooner, I will have a special meeting.
I would recommend in your thinking, especially if you're going to go for a self-imposed tax, that the center, the large community center, be located in such a way that it's available to a larger proportion of the residents. I know the youth are probably more numerous out west, but I know it's some days it's 25 or 30 minutes all the way out from my house.
Well,
so the east side would feel so.
Yeah.
The location is going to be critical for those type of decisions.
I think initially and you're right, Bob. I mean, a good portion of these people are not just kids. I mean, it's the elderly. Yep. It's a multi-generational. It's what we're talking about.
And I think that's critical as well.
And the people out west, by the way, are pretty mobile.
Yeah.
I car my kid to wherever practice is from the west, so
right.
They have a little more access to get.
You know, and if you think about this, the money would, I think, cover our expenses on not only the building floating bond payment, but it would also cover our expenses on the maintenance. We'd have to look at those numbers, but we're talking. I mean, if you do both together,
we got to take a look at. But
you can see what the bond cost would be and all that. Tracy could probably help us with that. But one other thing, though, is that I think most municipalities would be in favor of it. I mean, look at Daytona; they got 5% of their money. We got 2.64. Ormond got 4.58 or something. I mean, so nobody's getting a large percent of their money back.
Is that what has to happen, Jack, that all the cities have to vote not to renew?
It's a Volusia County vote. I mean, it would be, you know.
Well, it's clearly in the interest of the cities not to renew because we're simply not getting our return on dollar.
And I think that's where you guys come in critically important. If we're going to go down this road, then you talk to the other council members in the other cities, get them on board. They do the same thing we do from a grassroots standpoint because one city may not carry it. See what I mean? It may be outvoted. Anyway, so if we get a date, whenever you guys want to.
Right now, I'm getting indications from my trusty clerk that we don't have anything on the agenda for the March workshop. If you all want to jam it on that night, if
would be fun.
Jack can get his
is there a date on that? Because I'm out of town.
I think there is.
Whatever the fourth Tuesday is. 6/13/2027.
That's good. I'm good. I mean, I check with the rest of the board. Susan can.
All right.
Let's work it out.
We'll pencil it in for then. Jack, we'll wait for your.
Okay.
Yeah.
If for some reason that date doesn't work, I'm not opposed to a special meeting in March. And between you and the city manager, if you could find a date, I'll communicate with the city manager. I'll be glad to make that motion at our next council meeting to do whatever we got to do.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the evening if you guys are available in the morning or whatever. Whatever. We just get together for an hour or so and work it out.
Have you ever been at one of those meetings that lasted an hour?
Yeah. No.
Never mind.
Can't say that I have.
You brought up some great. Your board's bringing up great points. we got to make some decisions.
Yes.
And
Right.
if not, 10 years from there'll be
we'll
somebody
still be
else
talking about it.
standing there and sitting here.
That's right.
And every
It may
time
not
we
be
say
that long.
conversation. I mean, yeah.
It may not be that long. Lastly, just we talked about co-sponsorship. Susan brought to us removing the requirement co-sponsor teams from having to participate in recreational sports. She said there's no way to manage that. It really isn't. So we all agreed, and it was carried. We adjourned at 6:25, so an hour and a half meeting. So, but thank you for your time. Look forward to meeting you guys in March.
Jack,
sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
Jack.
you.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jack.
Which brings us all the way to item 15, second reading
Tom,
of
you
ordinance.
got Robert's waving his hand over there.
Sure, come on up.
Not yet.
Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, North, Port Orange. Mayor, council members. When I first moved here, 14, 15 years ago, there was an Allen Green Community Center over there on Clyde Morris, which for some reason the city didn't think they needed, and so they leased it out to the Palmer College for a clinic. And so, my question is, why don't we just reclaim that building?
Way too many things have been done to that building to make it usable for us.
Well, why don't we sell it to them and get the money and use that money for another community center?
That could be.
That
could be.
So that's, we all know where we are with
It's
that
on the table.
staff. It's
Anything's on the table.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Item 15A, second reading of ordinance number 2017-34. An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving the 8th Amendment to the amended and restated Master Development Agreement for Port Orange Gateway Center Plan Commercial Development and the Conceptual Development Plan, provided for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2017-34.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Second reading, council comments.
They don't have any second reading.
Nope.
Anyone else like to speak to this? Nobody's going to try to talk us out of it? He's going to try to talk us out of it.
It's always a mistake when you get a vote.
Yeah, second reading, no, yeah.
Anybody else?
He was here the first time.
Call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes.
Who's getting up to leave?
Thanks.
Item B, subdivision replat for Lot 3 of the Port
Done.
Orange Gateway.
Sorry, Jason Cruz, Ferber Company, 151 Sawgrass Corners Drive. I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for your time on this application. Appreciate the city, appreciate the staff, worked with the staff on other applications, and they've continued to be great to work with.
We
So,
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being responsible and trying to make the project a responsible project that
it's
meets our
been
needs.
it's been enjoyable. Thank you.
Thanks,
Take
Jason.
care.
Appreciate it.
Go.
Move to approve, we need a motion to approve the subdivision replat for Lot 3 of the Port Orange Gateway Center subdivision. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Penelope Cruz, planner. So this is just the next step. You just approved the second reading of the MDA. This is the commercial subdivision to subdivide that lot into the two lots. And if approved, they will move forward with the site plan development order. The site plan's been approved, ready to issue pending this approval, and March 6th you'll have before you the fair share agreement for transportation as well.
Gosh, I don't know. Council, comments? Anybody else like to speak to this? Being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Glenn, you're now off the clock.
At 7:50.
Second, I'm sorry.
Done. Done. Sarah had her hand up.
Oh, go on.
What happened to 14?
Mayor, the
Absolutely nothing happened to it except I blew right past it.
The EAB is not here. The
Okay.
EAB chair is not here.
Okay, well,
Okay.
They had to
which is
reschedule.
fine because I missed it anyway.
Well, I wanted to talk on it.
When he comes to give his report, you'll be able to. You can't talk on a report that's not going to be given.
Can't talk on an environmental issue, okay.
No,
That's
if you
not
want to
what
talk to
was
an
said.
environmental issue, you can talk separately about that. But you'd be
Sits
talking
on the
about the
agenda.
report. And we're not giving a report, but I know you'll be here for it, so we'll get you.
I want to talk about oak trees. Some. Thank you.
Item 16A, second reading of ordinance number 2018-1, an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving in land we trust planned unit development, master development agreement, and the conceptual development plan, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on second reading. Council comments? Anybody else like to speak to this? Being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Tremont?
Yes.
Councilman Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. Brings us to 16B. The recommended motion is to move to accept the deed of dedication with this, subject to legal review of executed dedication and legal description.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Council comments? There being none, anybody else like to speak to this? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Tremont?
Yes.
Councilman Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. Which brings us to item 17, the second reading of ordinance number 2018-2. An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, extending the existing moratorium on the issuances of permits for construction of wireless facilities, communication towers, wireless support structures, and other communication facilities used in support of wireless services within the rights-of-way of the City of Port Orange, providing for the duration of extension, providing for interpretation, providing definitions, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. And if that's not a run-on sentence, I don't know what it is.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2018-2 on second reading. Council comments? There being none, anybody else like to speak to this? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Tremont?
Yes.
Councilman Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. City Attorney comments?
No additional comments this evening.
That is very good. City Manager comments?
Mayor, staff requests permission to apply for a St. John's Water Management District grant. There's been an opportunity for us to gain another $350K to help fund the Virginia Monroe project. That that grant application needs to be in by February 15th, not allowing me to put it on the next agenda for the 20th. With your approval to apply, we will put in the application. Obviously, you will have another opportunity, another bite at the apple before we accept the grant.
Sure, absolutely.
Should we get it.
Motion
Yes.
motion to approve staff to.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Tremont, a second from Councilman Ford. And I didn't even have to ask for it. It sounded like such a good idea. Anyone else, council comments?
Makes sense.
Anyone else like to speak to that?
Go get it.
I'll call the roll.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Tremont?
Yes.
Councilman Bastian?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. Actually, I probably just could have done a voice vote, but that's okay. We're all on record. Jake, anything else?
No, sir.
That is most excellent. Which brings us to committee reports. River to Sea TPO.
I was out with the flu and unable to attend.
Oh, yes, you were.
That was the next morning after our workshop.
You almost didn't survive that workshop.
Correct.
General Employees Pension Plan.
All's well right now.
I like that report.
As of the last meeting.
As of the last meeting.
Right.
Not counting yesterday.
Yesterday, the day before.
We'll be all right.
You can't watch the market every day.
We're still above 24,000. So
Volusia County School Board Oversight Committee. I am a member of that. We meet once a year. We kind of get a little bit of a dog and pony show from county staff on the capacity of the schools. I kind of concentrated. I will scan and copy the reports and send them to you, but the capacity limits of the 6 elementaries, the 2 middles, and the 2 high schools in Port Orange were my primary focus in that meeting. 5 of the 6 elementaries in the city are at capacity. 2 of the middle schools, both of them are at capacity. 1 of the high schools is near capacity and the other is over capacity. And there are absolutely no plans to change any of that. So that's my report. With that, question, anybody else other than myself going to the Freemanville ceremony?
Yes.
Cheers. Everybody?
I'll be there.
All right, that's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, Mount Moriah. Nothing else comes before us this evening?
Mayor. Just a quick note, speaking of schools, I went ahead and was able to make the delivery of the 2 I was assigned for Teacher of the Year proclamations.
Yes.
And I just wanted to report back, very, very appreciative. I think that is a great idea that we do that. I would like to suggest that next year, the years after, that we bring them to a council meeting and recognize the 10 Teacher of the Year recipients for all of the Port Orange schools. I just think it'd be a great opportunity to bring them here and get them on POG and show our appreciation as a group, but very appreciative of the proclamation. So
I agree. Moving forward, I think that's a fantastic idea. This was something I was doing for the last 7 years at one elementary school. And Robin, it's your fault. You said we should be doing it for all the schools, and you're absolutely right.
And you're
so anything that
100%
mushrooms
correct.
out of this, and if you've got more work to do because of it, it's all on you.
So don't let us forget next year.
Yeah,
it's absolutely worth
the
it.
teacher, I delivered mine to Port Orange Elementary, and they really made a big deal of it. I did it in the auditorium. They had all the kids there. They brought, so it was, they were appreciative. The teacher was kind of overwhelmed, and like I said, they made a big deal out of it and really liked it. So I think bringing them here is a great idea.
Now
go ahead, man.
Okay. Everybody have a good night.
Good job.